Yeah, my name is Charlie Phillips. I'm a country boy. I come from the hills in St. Mary, a place called Clonmel, where some of my Irish ancestors settled in the 17th century. Um, and then I came to England in 1956, the 18th of August, and lived in Notting Hill when it was a ghetto. I experienced race riots, and I started to document our community, hoping that we'll be only here for 5 years. And some of my photographs was in a album ready to go for when we go back to Jamaica. We'll show what life was like in England. But I went on documenting my neighborhood, my community, and plus other things as well. I documented a lot of Afro-Caribbean funerals now, 50 years. In fact, I gave a book about it as well. And here I am, yeah. They took me out of retirement. When I say out of retirement, because I've never taken a photograph since 1975 commercially. And my archives was under my bed and in my loft for the last 40 years. And it's not till 10 years ago they discovered that who I was. And I have this archive telling our side of the story, our side of the story that's been overlooked, and how the exposure I get is always through a grassroots level, you know, in barber shops and railings and hairdressing shops and mechanic garages where I used to hang my photographs. And now it's come to prominence that a lot of people are making inquiries about me. How come they haven't heard about me? Well, I can't answer that question. You have to ask the people who's in charge of the culture of England, because it's very divided, and I don't associate myself with the self-elected cultural elites, you know. So I'm here still, but a lot of young people now, has taken interest with me, because from the Afro-Caribbean point of view, we're coming up to the 7th generation, and there's a missing gap. And they're very curious, because at times they can't see images of themselves anywhere else, you know. So this is why I'm not famous, am I? But this is why I've left a mark in part of the culture of England, which has been overlooked. I'm glad that Simon Sharma has acknowledged me as well. He's also acknowledged him, one of the greatest historians in England. He acknowledged me 2 years ago, but they said, yeah, I've been overlooked, so here I am. Yeah. Well, it's something I picked up from Cartier-Bresson when I met him. He gave me a tip: point and shoot, ask questions after, man. And I still practice that principle, and that's why you can see in some of my shots, you know, you can see they're not posed. You know, maybe one or two, but in general they're not posed. I'm looking for honesty as it is. Honesty. I'm looking for sincerity. I'm looking for love, in a way, and but more or less honesty. Yeah, because I never ask anyone to pose. I tell it as it is, and I photograph as it is. How did I come into photography? It was the era of when there were a Cold War, the era of the Cold War, and in Latbrook Grove we used to have a lot of Shabeens, and used to have a lot of Black American GIs. They used to all come down. Now, the black ones weren't all that welcome in the American club, which was called Douglas House. So within this year, we used to have a lot of house parties on weekends, and over the months, my dad was friendly with one, I forget his name, Rick or something like that, and he got legless and didn't have enough money to go back to the base. They used to bring out some magazines like Ebony magazines and Jet magazines and the Esquire magazines, yeah. And one of them left an Esquire magazine one day, and I was browsing through it, and I saw a picture called The Runaway. This years later, I found out it was done by Norman Rockwell. It's where a policeman was looking over this little kid, and that's what inspired me. Anyway, I started taking photographs before as a hobby because I used to do I used to do a paper round, and I had a box camera that took 8 photographs on a roll of film, 120 film, and I tell people later on in life that I never served my apprentice with any photographers. I'm a do-it-yourself. And while I done my paper round, I went in Boots Chemist and bought a magazine for 3 and 6, do-it-yourself photography. And that's how I started. I made a lot of mistakes. I still haven't taken the perfect photograph as yet. Yeah? And that's how, and you know, my friends used to say, come snap this, snap, and you take a snap and you do a contact print, which came out by 3 by 2, yeah? That's how it started. Well, anyway, I moved up. This GI left a Kodak Renetta 35 mil. I said, yeah, you can take either 12 photographs, 24, or 36. Yeah, and this is how I started to take photographs. The earliest photograph I've got saved is on Jamaica Independence Day. Yeah, that I took in the 6th of August, 1962. Yeah. Yeah, but we go back to 1950, but I've lost a lot of them, you know. I've lost a lot of them, yeah, because moving and squatting and all that, yeah. So what you see is what's been saved, and what's been preserved, and that's it. Now, I've never really followed any other photographers. I've followed filmmakers, and one of my biggest heroes is Stanley Kubrick, yeah. His composition man, a boy. And I heard he was a photographer in his early, but he's the only one. I follow more or less filmmakers to see how they compose a picture for the screen, you know? And I said, Stanley Kubrick, I wish I could have worked as an assistant because he took over the angles in his shot, especially Dr. Strangelove. I studied that shot. David Lean, Lawrence of Arabia, that long shot that you see the camel coming in, yeah? Sergio Eisenstein for his lighting, Leonard Nielsen with Ingmar Bergman, his lighting. Yeah, I always still think up to now that our side of our story hasn't been properly documented. And when I was documenting our story, I wasn't commissioned. Yeah, other people was documented our story being commissioned, but I wasn't commissioned. I've done it from the love of my heart as a necessity, yeah, because I didn't get paid for it. Yeah, I've done it because we have to tell our side of the story, and when it's documented by people like us inside of our own community, that's it.